Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to go into the third match of today's Rift Rivals, but we just witnessed Detonation Focus Me pull out an unorthodox pick in the mid lane and absolutely crush Legacy in that game.
Yeah, certainly did. I mean, when you have a look at what Oceania has done so far, it's had pretty solid laning phases. I mean, get to mid-game with what we thought were pretty mid-game-centric comps and then absolutely fall on their own swords. I mean, they were outmaneuvered, outplayed, and out-team fought by the Detonation Focus Me lineup in that last one. And Seros made playing Ziggs look a no-brainer when he's quite a bad champion at the moment.
I was talking to some people upstairs while I obviously wasn't joining you on the casting desk, and someone said to me, do Legacy still have a chance? I said, unless they kill Seros before anything happens, he's just going to kill everyone. Then 10 seconds later, he went to Baron and killed everyone.
Certainly.
And that's what Legacy struggled with, was just working out how to play against the Ziggs, because like you said, he's a bad champion. But the way I look at it is he's an unorthodox champion that no one knows how to play against.
Yeah, and I guess the big thing for me was the laning phases where they really struggled against it because he was just shoving out waves, rotating to help out side lanes. You could see that Claire was leaving. There was relatively no kill threat on the mid lane. I think that had a lot to do with the fact that they drafted a Rengar for God knows what reason. And Claire wasn't able to 1v1 him. So at the end of the day, I mean, you can talk about unorthodox versus bad, but at the end, they played around it, and Legacy didn't have an answer.
And this wasn't something that was unknown. It has been picked in the LGL by this team as well. But for now, let's actually check in with Carbon, who is standing by with Hingers to talk about that last match.
Hey guys, I'm here with Carbon, and a difficult loss to start off the tournament, but how are you feeling overall?
Feeling okay. I feel like we didn't play that awful when we weren't clumping for Ziggs ults. But everything in between those two moments I thought was all right.
It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage.
It is a lot of damage. Not much experience for Ziggs. But yeah, no, look, I think obviously very disappointing to lose the first game, but you know, there are definitely some things we can learn from it, and hopefully we can play a little bit better tomorrow.
Yeah, well, looking forward to tomorrow. Do you know much about the SEA team you're going to be focusing? You're going to be versing?
Yeah, I think we're playing Ascension. I don't really know that much about them. I mean, we've watched their VODs, and you know, from a strategic standpoint, we're trying to learn what we can. But generally, like, no, I don't really know that much about them. Hopefully, they're not as good as Gigabyte Marines.
So we just saw Direwolves losing their first match. So in the O's camp, I mean, what are you doing to kind of like, what are you going to be doing to lift spirits overnight then? Is this your responsibility?
Yeah, it usually falls on me. No, look, I don't think anyone's going to be that upset. Like I said, I thought we played decent except for a few pretty major errors, and I feel like if we can iron those out very quickly, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot for the rest of the tournament. As for Direwolves, you know, they were playing against an extremely good team who beat, you know, they beat WE, G2, and TSM. So like, I don't think they'll be that disappointed.
Excellent stuff. All right, well, we'll look forward to speaking to you tomorrow then.
Appreciate it.
Now the hopes and dreams of Oceania rests on the shoulders of Sin Gaming after Direwolves and Legacy dropped their first matches at the tournament.
I always believed in Sin.
I'm going on record right now. I do not believe in Sin. So we'll see how that one works out. You know, maybe I'll be proven wrong. But I think that right now that what it has shown us is that the Oceania is the dark horse coming into this tournament is 100% true. And I think that the way the Gigabyte Marines played, if the other two Southeast Asian teams can hold anything to them, then this should be a SEA favored tournament. And I mean, maybe if they get a better draft, maybe if, you know, the team fights don't go so horrendously, we can challenge the LJL region. But right now it looks like there is a clear 1, 2, and 3 from the first couple of games.
Yep. It's going to be an uphill struggle from us. Like you said, it pretty much all rests on Sin to pick up the points that we've lost. But we also need LGL and GPL to just sort of trade points here and there as well, take points off each other.
Well, one of those regions is going to lose a point in this next match as the LGL will take on one of the GPL teams. But for now, let's check in with Seros to talk about that last game. He's standing by with Hingers as well.
Hey guys, I'm here with Seros, fresh off that victory. Congratulations on the win. Tell us about this Ziggs pick. Is this something you've been working on for a while? Is it a pocket pick for you?
今回の勝ちおめでとうございます。ジグズってポケットピックなんですか？
ジグスはそのいろんなチャンピオン相手に出せて、うちのチームの中ではスタンダードピックになってますね。
Well, for me, it's a highly usable champion, and we practice in many scenarios, so it's not necessarily a pocket pick for our team.
Right. I think Legacy was saying they didn't have a lot of practice with it, so they felt surprised by it. But for you, did you feel very comfortable during that game?
レガシーの方ではジグズ相手っていうのはあんまりないんで、あんまりサプライズが多かったっていうところだったんですけど、それに関してはどう思いますか？
いやそもそもリージョン関係なくジグスの対面の経験があるチームって多分世界探してもないと思うんで、そういった意味でもジグスは強いチャンプだと思ってます。
Well, I'm sure it's really rare to see a Ziggs in lane anyways. So for us, it's great to bring it out. So a lot of people don't have experience against him. So for me, it's really comfortable playing it.
So how are you feeling about the tournament overall? It's good to get a first victory off the bat. But looking forward, do you know much about the other teams you're facing?
今回の勝ちを使って次の相手に関しては情報って持ってます？
結構対戦相手が決まってからいろんなことを調べてるんですけど、日本と結構違うことをしてくることが多くて、そういった意味で結構なんていうんですかね、警戒していますね。
Yeah, for us, once the Rift Rival schedule came out, we definitely took a look at all the other teams. So we did our homework, and once that happened, we do feel a little cautious of the other teams. There's a lot of players and champions that we don't see too much, so we came prepared though.
All right, so give us an overview of how the LJL teams are feeling. Are you guys getting along? Are you practicing together? What's your guys' strategy overall?
今回リフトライバルで、他の LGL のチームと、練習するであったり戦略会議とかをしてるかもしれないですけど、そういったものって新鮮でどう思います？
こういう機会がないと日本同士で交流することって全然少ないんですよね。だからそういった意味ですごいこの機会をもらえていい経験になってると思います。
Yeah, so to be honest, we don't get to chat with all the other teams too much. So we're taking advantage of that, and we have had meetings together and scrim together. So it's a really great experience for us.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you for speaking to us, and congratulations again on the win.
今回おめでとうございます。また次も頑張ってください。
Thank you.
There you go. Really good to hear from Seros there, talking about how he's working with other teams, also the fact that he's able to utilize the fact that I haven't played against the Ziggs, and also cautious of some of the champions that other regions have been playing. But guys, before we break down this next game that we're about to get into, I want to quickly take a look at SKT's World Champion skins for 2016. This year, SKT were more involved in the making of their skins than ever before. Immediately following Worlds, SKT spent some time at Riot creating a new, more regional design for their commemorative skins. Each player modeled their recoil animations as well as signed the skin with the autograph appearing next to the T1 logo, and Koma becomes the first coach to have his own World skin as well. 25% of the sales for these skins will go towards SKT, the players, as well as the other LCK teams that they face against one another throughout their journey to Worlds. On top of that, these skins will be available for 1,350 RP from July 5th to July 19th. And tomorrow, guys, we get to find out if they're on EGIM's tier list of skins to use in competitive play as well.
I actually, so this is one, maybe just me personally, I think they're great skins. I will certainly purchase them. I don't use world skins because I am not a world-class player, and I feel embarrassed. I was watching Faker play Syndra in those highlights, getting pentakills and stuff. I was like, I can't move one way and click the other. I mean, this is impossible. How the heck do you guys make it work?
I think they will give you a pass on not being a world-class player when they use the skins. I don't think that's a requirement.
Maybe not for you, Tiga. Maybe not for you.
Jeez! I was here to talk up the skins. I was going to say I really identify with smashing my desk after getting a little upset, but here you are, just getting ready to roast me instead of talking about this amazing artwork.
Come on, Spawn. The man has a family there. Let's get straight into this next match. It's going to be Unsold Stuff Gaming going up against Mineski. Finally, one of the undefeated regions is going to have to drop a point here today, as a third seed from Japan as well as a third seed from the GPL are going to face off against one another.
I'm looking towards Unsold Stuff to win this. I think that LJL has had the closest between all three of their seeds in terms of skill, and when I look at Mineski, all I can think of is they're inconsistent. There's a good chance they're going to come out and absolutely demolish them, but there's also a good chance that they come out and look horrible. So me personally, for the OPL's sake, I'm hoping that the LJL come out and look really good here.
And this is all you can do. I mean, all you can really do is think that teams are going to play towards their curve. And what we've seen is a much more frequent performance coming out of Unsold Stuff Gaming, which, by the way, up there with some of the classic GPL names for best name of a team in the absolute world.
It's the best one I've seen in a while.
It's right up there with Full Lures as far as names go in competitive League of Legends. So we'll see whether they do have more Unsold stuff, stuff that they haven't been able to show on some of this riff. I'm going to have so much fun with this name.
I am not.
But at the same time, Mineski, they have experience internationally. Unsold stuff certainly do not have that. They haven't been able to take out the LGL yet. Mineski, of course, famously went to, I believe, Worlds in 2014, if I stretch my memory back a very long time, Fish. And we'll see whether they're able to show any of that because they've got 3 players still from that lineup. A couple of role swaps coming through. I know that they're your boys. Beat out, who was it, Singapore Sentinels to get that world's berth, who used to be part
Now
of.
you're just roasting me and
he's just
I'm just throwing shade everywhere on this.
I think what's happened is since the Oceanic teams have lost, Jake Spawn
There's
Tiger's a
nothing else
little
to talk
upset.
about here. There's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, well, let's go straight into the lineup of Unsold Stuff, from the LGL and take a look at their players coming into this one. Remember, guys, that this is the 3rd place team in the LGL at the moment, and my goodness, they still look great. I mean, they're only 1 point behind the top 2 teams in the LGL, and it's been consistent that way throughout multiple seasons. There you go, up in the top lane, it's going to be Upman, as well as Neo in the jungle, Remind in the mid lane, Hereti as their AD carry, and Enti as their supports.
Now, you say they're only 1 point behind, but previous season, they were tied for first 8-2 as well. They lost out a little bit on points and ended up playing Rampage in the Gauntlet, going down 2-3 to them, who then ended up 3-0ing Detonation Focus Me. So obviously they're a great team, especially in regards to the LJL skill level. So I feel like saying they're 1 point behind doesn't even sort of show you just how close they are to the other 2 teams. And that's why I'm so excited to see how well they perform here, because I think they're just the best number 3 spot.
And I believe that their teams do believe there's a little bit of paper, scissors, rock action going over in the LJL. I think that, Rampage has shown over the last 3 grand finals that they certainly have Detonation Focus Me covered. At the same time, Unsold Stuff Gaming kind of were able to stretch Rampage where other teams weren't able to do, both during the regular season and then during playoffs, taking them to 3-2 when they were in form. And I think that speaks volumes about how far the best teams in the LJL are coming along. I think with proximity to Korea and being able to access that solo queue, as well as, be able to go on short boot camps across the ocean when they're able to. They do get scrims versus challenger teams in Korea. So I think that this is something that is a benefit of that server that, maybe the GPL and maybe the Oceanic teams aren't able to experience just because of regional proximity.
We'll have to see how that helps out the LGL teams. For now, though, let's take a look at their opponents heading onto the Rift for this 3rd game. It's going to be Mineski, a team that has been to Worlds before and be relying on a lot of their experience from 3 of their veteran players. It's going to be Kaigu moving up into the top lane. In the jungle, it's going to be Hammers with Exosen in the mid lane, Zensho as their AD carry, and TG as their supports.
Yeah, and I know that this is one of the places that I'm going to implement nicknames. So it's Exo and Zen. Absolutely no way that we're saying the rest of their names for the rest of this game. And you mentioned it. They've already been to Worlds, and this is a team that certainly has some world caliber players. And couple of lanes role swaps since they've been there last, and we'll see whether they're able to continue any kind of form, because the GPL as a region historically has been so up and down. I mean, Vietnam now has started to carve its way out with multiple victories, but in the past it has been, Filipino rosters as well as the Thai rosters that have been able to make their way to these international events.
Yep, and multiple countries from the Southeast Asian region have been able to do just that. For now, though, before we get into this next game, let's take a preview, so to speak, of the LJL moving into this tournament.
LJL とは日本のトッププロが集まった、そして、集団戦の得意な人たちが集まったリーグだと思います。20分以降の中断戦というのが大きな魅力になっている、そういったリーグになっていると思いますね。
ランページに関しては AD キャリーを主軸に置いた、チームファイトを重きにしているチームかなと。
そこにエビがテレポートが速いのはこれはエビの方。ただしリマインドのツーマンスタンからアパメンが入ってくるがボリボーフ。あれしか打てない間にラブネがショックウェーブ。ツーマン決めている。その間にダメージを出している。
アンソルドスタッフゲーミングについては一言で言うならユニークなチーム。僕らが見ていても今週は一体何をやるんでっていうのがわからないチーム。ただミッドのリマインドがキャリーするだろうなっていうのはいつも変わらず感じることですね。
ここはアチェモンはフラッシュを使用しました。そしてなんとウォールにはまっているスタンからショックを放つ。4人に当たりましたが一気にダブルキルリマインド。
フォーカスミーの特徴はジャングラーとそしてサポートに韓国人のプレイヤーがいるので、彼らを生かした視界のコントロールであったり、中盤以降のマクロの動きというのが大きな強みだと思いますね。
まだ前に行く。いや最後はブルーズアイユタボンがダブルキル。そして逃げ道を封鎖しているのはスティール。さあそこにパズが合流。アルティメットを展開してスタンからのフック。さらには魂の牢獄でだ。トリプルキルはユタボン。
今回ランページではラムネ選手に注目してます。今年の MSI のスーパーマッシブ戦で見せたように非常にいいポテンシャルを秘めている。 MSI を経て国際戦を経た後の今このタイミングで だからこそ出せる一皮むけたというか強みを見せることができればミッドレーナーとして一つ格を上げれるそういうチャンスなんじゃないかなというところで彼に注目しています。
セロスです。今年のセロスに関して言うのであればプレイスタイルをかなり変えています。ジャングラーとの連動っていう部分がかなり本人の中で意識をしているので、何よりも日本のミッドレーナーの工程が返ってきたというのを彼が証明してくれると思います。
USG のエンティ選手に注目してほしいんですが、理由としては日本人の中でずば抜けた個人技を持っていますし、アグレッシブな彼のプレーというのは大きな魅力になっていると思うので、彼のプレーには注目してもらいたいですね。
このリフトライバルって本当にいいチャンスだと思います。本当に強いチームが育っているんだぞっていうのを世界に示してほしい。
LJL のリーグの強さというのが、見せられるかなと。
ランページは集団戦だし、フォーカスミはマクロの動きだし、 USG は序盤のレーンフェーズの強さ、十分世界と戦えるポテンシャルを持っていると思いますね。
Yeah, watching that video makes me sad. I wish I could cast half as well as some of those Japanese play-by-play shoutcasters. They sound phenomenal. But
Mate, they would be better English shoutcasters than you are.
Can we get Jake, the other Jake, the real Jake, onto this desk with Tegan? You know, that'd be a much friendlier desk. Don't you think, Tegan?
No comment, because I don't want him to look at me and get roast me again.
Great, now it's the analyst against the host. It's going to be a fantastic time on the desk. But let's go straight into this next match, guys. It's going to be Unsold Soft Gaming from the LGL taking on Mineski from the GPL. And the Japanese casters there were talking about how, you know, a lot of the Japanese teams, they ramp up to 20 minutes and it's just explosive fighting from 20 minutes out.
Yeah, and I think that's what we saw in the last game. We saw very big comfort around objectives and neutral control coming in. I think we also saw some of that macro play that they were talking about from Detonation Focus Me. And the thing that excites me is the LJL teams have never been bad, but they've always been a step off. And this is a tournament that, given it's 3 teams, that they're a little bit more comfortable, they should be able to have a fairly good showing here. I mean, you're at least going to get into that best of 5 King of the Hill format, if not to the final. And I've been looking forward to for a couple of years now, since they were able to compete in their first IWC I believe, for this region to really take the next step. And we'll see whether they can do that now.
I'm just hoping they bring out more unorthodox picks. I love the fact that they brought out Ziggs. You might think it's a bad champion, but it doesn't matter if no one knows what they're doing about it.
You were trying
Bring
to
more
run
things
Blitzcrank down that mid lane with Morgana support way before anyone else was playing on Orthodox.
So you can see why I'm such a big fan of it.
I certainly can see that. But I agree. I think that if they find a niche in how to play around it, if they're not just picking cheese for the sake of picking cheese, historically it has always worked. There's a reason that people have pocket picks, and I think that it's certainly a way you can exploit a team.
And I mean, you touched on it very briefly there, Spawn, but the fact that every single tournament that Japan has come into, they've been the dark horse. Tons of analysts go, you know what? This is the tournament that LGL are going to come out ahead. And you watch the first 2 games and they lose and people kind of fall back a little bit. This time around, they're coming off of the first round victory against Legacy. Let's see if Unsold Stuff can do the exact same thing here against Mineski, because we are into Champion Select for game number 3. And that's 2 bans on blue side that you commonly see thrown at the red side of the Rift.
I don't like those bans at all. To me, that screams that they can't play those champions or can't play against them. Either way, it really constricts your draft opportunities and places a lot of pressure on your coach when you just have to ban away strong things that you should be able to play.
I mean, you have to see a first pick Rek'Sai here, in my opinion. You've already got rid of Zach, Elise, Lee Sin. The next best jungler on this patch by an absolute mile is not going to be locked in T-Gun.
Wow.
It's definitely not Varus, that's for sure. You got to expect, if they're not going to pick Rek'Sai here, they have to have multiple options they expect Mineski not to ban or not to even think about. Otherwise, it's just poor drafting.
Well, let's see what Mineski tried to use against this. For now, they could lock in Ashe as their AD carry pick of choice, which they could also save for Exo's pick here, because they don't have to show their hand now that Varus has been locked in, but that's what Mineski want.
Yeah, it certainly is. So initiation coming out of both AD carries, high pressure lanes. We'll see whether they're going towards Blade of the Ruin King still, or whether they have transitioned over to Essence Reaver builds. We've seen a little bit of both internationally. Just want to hit on the lane swaps, Fish, because I know that you're a big fan of the Mineski lineup. Exo was their AD carry back then. Kaigu was their jungler, I believe. Is that right?
That's right.
And, of course, TG's always been their support down there. Very good staple for that roster.
And they've also left the roster and come back to the team at multiple times at different times as well. So good to see that they're all working together and playing as a unit again.
Hovering the Ivan.
Whoa, Warwick!
Wow.
You weren't joking about these surprise picks coming out of the LJL. Warwick instantly locked in for Unsold Stuff.
I don't know why they picked it there, because surely there's no way Mineski ban it, right?
I've been trying to save support in case, something a little bit surprising comes out. Maybe they want to play a more traditional support, and they're worried that, Blitzcrank could be available, although with Zyra lock-in, Blitzcrank is definitely a possibility for NT now down in the bottom lane of Unsold Stuff Gaming. But this has been, on both sides, a very strange draft so far. Priority on champions that we have not seen prioritized internationally.
I'd be a huge fan of the Blitz pick. You can see Mineski now starting to target supports with the Tahm Kench ban. Hopefully they don't ban the Blitz, because I really want to see it. Now that you've put it in my head, I can't stop thinking about it. The Warwick pick, I haven't seen it in competitive very much. I've seen it a lot in solo queue, and I'll tell you what, when it's in my solo queue games, it's always just doing things I don't even understand, but it seems to work. So if that translates into competitive, I'm going to enjoy this.
I mean, it has been played a little bit in the European LCS as the support bans continue to trickle through. Of course, going to be able to counter pick mid lane means that you have to get rid of things like Fizz and Kassadin that are really annoying for certain champions to deal with. Although it's already into Syndra, so Syndra does not do well into Fizz. Kassadin, it's a time bomb matchup. You can bully early, but eventually the Kassadin takes you to a side lane and beats you over the head with a Lich Bane.
It doesn't get rid of Echo, which is the traditional counter. Still, Mineski just say, you know what, we'll play Talia instead.
I mean, people like Bjergsen have been willing to play Syndra into Echo. If you stun him and instantly ult, you can kill him before he gets anything out. Also, the fact that you build Morellonomicon means that unless they dodge the damage portion of the ult, which means that you've mucked up somewhere in your play, he's going to still come out with reduced health.
Yes,
there it is.
I'm so happy.
Blitzcrank locked in for Unsold Stuff.
I mean, when I see Warwick, I'm just like, what Season 1 champions can they put with it? Turns out Shen and Blitzcrank are the last two picks. I mean, this is part of the Exodia comp that used to run around in solo queue games everywhere. I'm excited about it.
What just surprises me is we all identified this as a very high potential pick, yet Mineski just let it go through.
Yeah.
So either they think that it's bad, or they think they can deal with it quite easily. Now, their bot lane duo that they have in Ashe Zyra does not deal with it. So I want to see how they get around this. Talia, just touching back on the mid lane, is actually quite good at dealing with it because you just roam down bot lane, 3 or 4 man dive it, and Blitz is kind of useless in those positions.
But the problem is that Talia, in my experience, isn't good into Syndra. She doesn't push the lane hard enough anymore. Syndra is able to punish that mid-range style mage. So you can see Cleanse already picked up in case there's a stun. You can also see that timers are running down, and that is actually a jungle Jarvan, which is completely bonkers because doesn't clear as quickly as the Gragas does on the current patch. It must be a lane matchup thing that they actually, once the Shen was locked in, they felt that the Gragas was a better lane pick. But still, jungle Jarvan is something that we don't see that often. Don't know if Warwick can punish it for speed, however, as he's not a very quick jungler himself, but a throwback draft coming in from both squads.
I'm not a fan of the way they've positioned their Gragas and Jarvan. We've seen Jarvan in the top lane be extremely tough to deal with, and when you scale items faster and faster, you can go deeper and deeper with him as a bruiser. In the jungle, you just don't get that gold as quickly, so it sort of limits your options with him, whereas Gragas is always going to be a pure tank no matter what.
I mean, what does Jarvan build going to double? Does he pick up Warriors? Does he go straight Cinderhulk and then tanky afterwards?
I mean, I would expect to see him go Tiamat into Cinderhulk and then finish off a Titanic Hydra. I can't think of any other way that this makes sense. If he goes Warriors into like full tank, he's not going to do enough damage to be relevant. He has okay CC, so we'll see how it works out, Fish.
Yeah, such curious drafts coming out from these two teams. A Jarvan in the jungle and a Warwick running around Summoner's Rift. What the heck is going on? My goodness, this is going to be an interesting match to watch between Unsold Stuff Gaming taking on Mineski here, the two third seed teams from both the LGL as well as the GPL.
I want to see an interesting level 1. I want to see them invade. Just hard out invade.
I hate to break it to you, Tegan. You should know this best. They've got a Blitzcrank. They're going to invade.
They also have the flames on the skin, which means he goes quicker than the other Blitzcrank.
He's definitely got the best skin. Ejim will agree with me here because I convinced him to change this skin. But it looks like they're going to walk into a whole lot of nothing here. Sort of dampens my spirits on it.
And this is so strange because you generally know with Zyra teams that they're going to be stacking bottom lanes trying to protect those eggs. So whilst they go for a topside evade, probably not going to be able to find a top lane and napping up there because of how much priority Zyra wants over that lane.
Maybe they were trying to think on that extra level. Maybe they were thinking Mineski would expect that blitz lane that Blitzcrank coming through bot to deal with the Zyra and figuring they would be up the top. Maybe it was just they sort of thought on too many levels and messed it up themselves.
I mean, you're starting to get deeper and deeper into that meme of did they expect what they unexpected. I don't think we should go down that path any further, Tegan. It never ends in a good situation for anyone. For now, though, nothing too cheesy is coming out for them. We did see Mineski dive deep into the bottom side jungle, got a couple of wards for themselves. Unsold Stuff did the same thing top side, but didn't drop down any wards, so just scouting out for some vision.
But what this does mean is so many of the totems are burnt over. Actually, they burnt to each. So generally, when you invade that deep at this stage of the game, it means that Warwick potentially can get busy early and look for some early ganks. However, as it was only 2 totems each, neither jungle really at a disadvantage.
There was a really smart ward coming out from the bot lane of Unsold Stuff as well. They walked their duo and warded over the wall into the red brush just to make sure after their invade that Mineski wasn't stealing their red away. It wasn't something that got caught on the camera, but it was just something that needs to be highlighted from these teams.
So Warwick has been reworked quite some time ago, actually. It's not that recent anymore. Can get very early ganks off thanks to the fear that he now has, but he's still one of those champions that you expect to sit in the jungle, farm up till he has his ultimate.
Also because the Q now takes you behind the opponent if you hold it down, and that's what really you're looking for the synergy. You know, pop the fear, gives you all that damage reduction, get behind someone, fear them back into your squad.
What you're also looking for is if they time that correctly, they can follow you through a flash. I've seen it happen many times before, and that's what a really, really good Warwick is going to be trying to do when he ganks.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the Unsold Stuff positioning Blitzcrank quite aggressively, but let's go back to top lane because Jarvan's going for a gank, misses the flag and drag, just gets an auto attack down.
One of the problems with Jarvan jungle is he's got a very telegraphed gank. He has to throw out the E, then the flag and drag has to come out. Has a W for a little bit of a slow, however, is easy to dodge out of. Upperman should be even more safe if that's a thing, as soon as he gets that Shadow Dash. That's why he went top for the very quick gank, and don't expect him to camp out that lane all that much anymore, Fish.
You're on the bottom lane, as we were mentioning before that gank. Unsold Stuff positioning very aggressively, trying to push in this Ashe Zyra lane, which is normally a pushing lane themselves. Top side of the map, Shen fancies a trade against Kaigu on his Kragus, gets a decent amount of damage down, and Jarvan going into the mid lane now. That was a hook landing onto the Zyra, forced to flash away.
Weird choice to burn his Ignite. You never really get in the kill there. You expect to burn either a flash or an exhaust. Just a little bit sloppy, but still, you've burnt the flash. I expect Warwick to be down there as soon as he can really think of getting something off.
And now he goes over wall, telegraph gank path coming in. You can see that they're actually pinging him.
Oh, they got him with the hook. He has to flag and drag out, gets back to safety. No summoners burnt.
But still at the same time, 2 summoner spells burnt mid lane. EXO actually has to use both the Ghost and the Flash during the trade that went down with the Remind. I mean, Unsold Stuff Gaming across the board have scouted out the ganks that are coming through from Mineski, and they've actually capitalized really well.
And you were talking before we even started about Syndra being quite strong into Talia. Now that she has no subs,
that's a flash forward. Looking for a kill. The shove doesn't connect. One more auto. Remind picks up first blood, but they do have Hammers up there as well to return the kill.
Right as I was talking about how Syndra's just going to punish Talia, she goes down. And that's what's really Mineski is going to struggle with, is you need to get out of that lane as soon as you can and start roaming, and I don't even know if he's going to get to that point before Syndra becomes too much of a problem.
Yeah, he's certainly not going to, because at this stage, I mean, he's gone with double ring. He's going to be a little bit tankier, but still that wave hit the turret. It's going to bounce back into Remind's favor. So EXO already going to be at an experience disadvantage because he didn't get the kill. Hammers actually now has a lot of camping of the mid lane to do, has to be able to get in. They have to be able to punish Remind's no summoner spells. There's heavy trading in the bottom lane.
Yeah, big trade coming out from the Varus there. Now Blitzcrank looking for it, gets the hook. That's going to lock down the Ashe, taking so much damage in return from the Varus as well. Really good play so far from Unsold Stuff.
Your
winning every lane.
must be swelling right now, T-Gun, because I don't think NT's thrown out a hook that has not absolutely nailed a lane opponent. We can say he ignited too early, but he has complete control over this bottom side.
Absolutely. And when I said he ignited too early, that was me horrendously nitpicking this guy. He has hit, and they weren't just easy hooks, right? Sometimes when you look at someone playing Blitz, you're like, oh, he's just throwing them in straight lines. How hard is that? This man has been hitting difficult hooks, zoning opponents, and when he links up with his jungler like he did before, they're going to get kills after kills in the mid game.
Let's see if they can carry that through. So far, though, every single lane for Unsold Stuff is doing fantastic. Top side of the map, which we have not checked in with too much. Both of them have burnt their teleports, but Shen is pushing this lane quite aggressively against the Gragas.
And another Gragas and another triple Dorian's Ring coming in. I mean, it has been nerfed on the patch. Definitely gives nowhere near the same amount of mana sustain, but it looks like it's doing enough to be able to keep him relevant. And you can see that Neo pops his head into the jungle.
It's the first time we've seen him. He's been a happy camper inside of his own jungle, just farming.
And both of the junglers actually going for Tiamat rushes, so farming quite quickly. Ever since the Tiamat changed to only be worth 1,200 gold, it's certainly something that you can look towards. Here we go, fight of the century. Give it to me.
Them. Smack each other, take no damage, throw out barrels and back off.
Touching back on the Warwick just farming up his jungle, I'm okay with that. I think as soon as he hits 6, Blitz should never be in bot lane ever again and just go wherever Lord goes.
He is in the bottom lane, and look at the Blitzcrank. Go, go, go! Tries to land a hook, gets dodged out by TG.
I don't think he should have even bothered trying to hook the Zyra. He should have just ran above the brush that Ashe was in, stand there with your Eon, and wait for him to show his face.
It's certainly a higher percentage play. I think what they wanted to do is hook the flashless target. He also has flash himself. I think the other thing you do is just flash on the Zyra if that is the target you're committing to. With Warwick right behind him, certainly would have been a kill that they could potentially go for. At the same time, now Warwick's is level 6. That gank becomes even easier to execute upon.
He's still bottom lane as well, so could just make a return trip.
This is belief in your laners right here from the Warwick. He knows that mitts, that's not something that's going to happen again.
Jarvan, however, is on the top side of the map, looking to try and farm out more of his camps. Moves towards red buff. As you mentioned, does have that Tiamat. Is able to clear these out quite quickly, but no impact from him so far besides picking up a kill in the mid lane. Warwick has gone away from the bottom lane, is moving towards his Raptor camp instead.
And I mean, look at both of the junglers just fly through. I mean, it's greedy itemization. It means you have to put a Titanic Hydra into your build at some point for that purchase to really be worthwhile. However, has got them through to level 6, which is where both of these junglers want to make a big impact fairly early into the game. So I think that this has been a very unique early game as NT actually looking for another little bit of engage. He does the cute thing, waits for the ward to expire before running back in. Of course, they couldn't see him anyway because he was on a control.
Touching back on the junglers, you said that now that they've hit 6, they're going to look to start being active on the map. I think both of them are going to end up in bot lane, as we can see Jarvan already here. I would love to see Warwick clear his top side and pass down. The reason I say they should end up in the bot lane is Zyra Ashe, as far as a bot lane perspective goes, is one of the strongest level 6 bursting lanes in the game right now. So the second they tick 6, I'm expecting everyone to end up in that lane.
Yeah, it potentially could happen. I mean, Talia wants to leave. I think that the best thing that Warwick can do, however, is go mid and just get another kill for Remind. If EXO falls down one more kill, loses another creep wave of CS, he's out of this game. I mean, already gone towards Merc Treads as his first item. You can see that it's going to be the Sork Boots picked up on the other side for Remind, just so he has a legitimate kill threat. He's also gone a little bit unorthodox in his choice of Keystone Master, as I'm going to say, with a Storm Raider's Surge. Not something that you see many Syndra's go towards. Generally prefers the burst that comes out of Thunderlords, but will be able to stick with the play incredibly well. Although now, lots of members in the bottom lane.
Yeah, looking for a big dive onto this bottom lane duo. Arrow connects, and Varus will be knocked up and shoved back. EXO with a big kill there, and it will be Zyra that picks up the second one onto NT. Mineski fight back.
That's actually really good execution. That's what we were talking about, the ability to get down into the bottom lane. A little bit late on the Shen ult, however, damage still would have come through. Clean double kill. They move into mid lane to see if they can pick up the mid lane turret before they get there. You can see Gragas is going to go and potentially just throw a cask at the creep wave. And Mineski should win this base race.
And on that bot lane dive, if I'm Shen, I'm happy that ult doesn't go through, because all that happens is if you do get through,
you die.
3 people die instead of 2.
Instead, now he can push up top lane with that Tiamat. Continue to put pressure down, although big collapse coming
Body
in.
bop comes through. Remind forced to flash back into dangerous territory, trying to go toe-to-toe against EXO. Teleporter is coming in from Unsold Stuff Gaming, who are trying to fight with their backs against the wall. The rest of Mineski will join the fight. Hermes doesn't have enough mana to go through. Double taunt coming in for the Shen. TG's the first to fall. The mid laner for Unsold Stuff will fall next, and it's a 1-for-1 trade after all.
What a strange collapse coming out of both teams. I mean, Remind flashed towards the other side of the map to be able to look for a kill there onto Hermes. And because they did trade with a little bit more health and ultimates available, they're going to look for the first dragon of the game. You can see a little bit of a pause coming in here. But you have to say, overall, that is a very positive trade coming in for Unsold Stuff Game.
And I think that's something they planned in ahead. You said yourself, the Syndra flashed forward. The rest of the team was already collapsing in there.
Yep.
So I don't know if they were planning that, 5 or 10 seconds ahead, or they just made a split-second decision and said, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a look at it, it certainly looked like it was a little bit more of a scripted play. They had just burnt so much in the bottom side of the map. They knew that Gragas had used Cask on the turret, so legitimately no ultimates available at that stage, and they were able to punish quite hard.
And we've already seen this from the previous Japanese team we watched, Detonation Focus Me. What they're able to do is, as soon as one player says, all right, we're going to do X, everybody's on the exact same page, and it seems like the Unsold Stuff Gaming able to do the exact same thing time and time again in this match.
Yep. Now, looking forward in this game, I want to see more sort of fluidity to where they're going. I don't want to see them just end up back in standard lanes or just in lanes in general. I want them to be roaming really heavily in the jungle, looking to create just picks instead of trying to siege up places, because I think that's where they'll really shine.
And I think that even though they lost first turret, they would actually take that trade because they opened up the middle portion of the map, which means that all of a sudden it's not just Blitzcrank and Warwick, it's Blitzcrank, Warwick, Syndra that can get mid lane priority, shove up, and go attack a side lane. And when you have a Shen that can join the fight much more frequently than what Gragas can, you don't really mind sitting him in a long lane. He's not going to get camped out. That's not generally a win condition. So I think that right now USG is in the driver's seat, and Mineski have to really respect the power of the pick that comes out.
My only problem is, while they are in the driver's seat, if they don't start getting things done, they will scale off. Like I said before, Zara Ash, extremely strong, especially at 6 and post 6. If USG aren't able to start getting picks and start off being proactive, if they start getting caught and having to react, that's where I think the game will start getting away from them and they'll start to struggle.
I mean, they're both kind of front-to-back comps at the same time. I mean, Jarvan's going to be more of a tank. I mean, you're going to have a tank up there in the top lane. You're going to have Talia trading damage with Syndra. I mean, Syndra better in the burst scenario. Talia arguably better over a long team fight, or if she gets a big shove out. You know, you have Varus versus Ashe. Really, the only way late game becomes incredibly difficult is if you completely lose control over these objectives, because that means that Blitzcrank is running forward, fishing for desperate hooks, as opposed to, you know, sitting in that fog of war, setting up the set plays that we like to see Blitz able to capitalize on.
Still yet to see too much coming out from the Warwick so far, just very standard, farming up the jungle, looking for a couple of gank opportunities, but nothing has presented itself so far for Unsold Stuff Gaming. But Jarvan, on the other hand, has had some impact early, just not as quite as a traditional meta jungle, so to speak.
They've shown that this isn't something they just made a split-second decision on, though. They definitely knew going into this draft that's where everything was going. I don't think it was just, hey, these lanes don't look quite great for us, let's sort of switch around what we're doing. And then they're trying to get it to work.
So we are going to be able to get back into this game after that pause. Just a quick recap. There was a small skirmish in the mid lane, which was traded 1-for-1 between the two teams. However, Unsold Stuff had much better health bars and a lot more ultimates available, so we're able to move down towards the Dragon Pit, pick up an Infernal Dragon for themselves.
I'd be super happy with that. Like I said, you're a really bursty team. Any additional AD and AP you can get is going to help you blow up whatever priority target you decide to go for. And with Blitz, with Warwick, both champions which can pick out an opponent, that's going to really benefit them for the next, 15, 20 minutes.
Trust me, Remind knows that they're a bursty team. He's actually scrapped going for Morale and Omicron and just picked up more early penetration in the form of a Haunting Guise. Wants to get through the early Merc Treads magic resistance that's coming out of multiple members and really be able to take over this mid-game. That's a bold call, but certainly one that should allow for much more pick-heavy fights to come out.
Let's see if Remind can use that to great effect. So far, though, we've had a lane swap from both teams. Unsold Stuff sending their top laner down to the bottom lane, as well as AD carrying support's top side of the map. Mineski mirroring that with their AD carrying support top side. But they have Jarvan waiting in Fog of War top side of the map on a control ward.
My worry is they're going to get dove again. The exact same thing we saw happen bot's going to happen top. I just hope they have an answer this time. Have the jungler up there when Jarvan gets there. Have your mid laner either pushing really hard or able to rotate and stop Thalia from just ending up there and overwhelming you.
Jarvan's going to be the most patient man in the world right now. He has not moved away from this top lane, waiting for so long.
I mean, waiting for too long. He has complete bottom side jungle up. His top side jungle is going to start respawning. He's already 2 levels behind Neo on the Warwick. You can't give up experience leads all game. The catch-up mechanic in the jungle is good. it is not this good. And they're reading the play because they're actually stopping EXO going towards it, and they actually teleport in early.
Big fight top lane. He will be able to get the courage of the Colossus there to get a big shield to save. Blitzcrank now trying to turn around the play. TG's the next one to fall. They're jumping on top of the 80 carry as well. Piling on in. Unsold Stuff Gaming pick up 3 for nothing.
And they just read it superbly. They know that Kaigu can't teleport first because he's just going to be taunted out. At the same time, they block Talia's path to be able to wall up, and then they get the ultimate out of upper man, and they're able to shove through a turret. Great counter gank coming out.
And that's exactly what we were just talking about. I was worried that the same thing that happened bot was about to happen top, but this time, Unsold Stuff, react well, execute well. I can't believe Blitz survives it.
I mean, Mana Shield, as well as Courage of Colossus, and the Shen Shield, just enough to be able to save him. Really good ulti coming out of Heredia there to be able to tie down multiple members. And then Neo just makes the gank work. I mean, we already talked about it. Warwick has so many more tools now. Didn't even have to burn ulti for that.
And at this point, do we question Zyra's choice to take Exhaust over Ignite in positions like that? If that's Ignite, the Blitz dies. But since she's taken Exhaust to deal with what I assume to be Syndra's mid to late game, it seems like they're going to struggle now.
Even Ignite still feels like that would have been a 3-for-1 trade, which if you're Unsold Stuff, happy to take. Game would be tied up 5-5, but they currently have about 2,000 gold over Mineski in their back pocket.
I think what you have to question is kind of the bans they threw at the support position, because NT was always going to play a kill threat. I don't really see many Broms being deliberately picked into Zyra's anymore, let alone Tahm Kench, who has next to no tools to be able to deal with it. Whereas, you know, Blitzcrank is certainly the favorable matchup. So if you're going to take Zyra, that's fine. You just have to ban away the things like Thresh and Blitzcrank to deal with it quite well.
I mean, at least the Brom pick, Brom ban makes sense against Gragas, but the Tahm Kench, I just don't see a place in this game. For now, though, we're going to see Hummus pick up his own blue buff there. Seems like he was trying to be stolen away. Actually, no. He tried to give it to EXO.
Yeah.
Picks it up for himself.
EXO just burnt double spell rotation to be able to pick that one up. Of course, has gone with an early Banshee's Veil, so has no mana regen coming out of something like a Morellonomicon, so that hurts the Talia a lot.
Unsold Stuff have rotated the top laner back towards top side of the map. TG and Zen still sitting up here trying to whittle down this turret, but Shen's perfectly fine up
He's
here.
got a Titanic Hydra fish. He's got wave clear for days if you can't force him off the lane, and that is exactly what you just saw. He was able to stand and deliver. He's got the double procs out, and they're actually trading across map so much quicker than what Mineski can actually force right now.
And like you said, while they're trading, I don't think this is the right idea to what looks like they were going to pull Talia up and just stay in this setup, because Unsold Stuff Gaming is just going to do more things bot lane. They might even kill the Talia right now.
Yeah, it looks like they're collapsing. They're actually behind Hamez as well.
Look at this, Warwick trying to lock them down. Banshee's Veil still available. Fear comes down. There's that ultimate to lock him down immediately. Remind flashes forward. An arrow will connect, but they don't care. Unsold Stuff get a pick and now target the mid lane.
And this is such an exciting game of League of Legends. Vision denial, pick, stopping the rotations coming out. This is how you love to see League of Legends played internationally. And it just looks like they're beating him to every position around the map, pulling the trigger, no hesitation. I mean, this is just so fun to watch.
I mean, you could have stopped after saying there was a Blitzcrank in the game. That's fun enough for me right now.
I mean, come on, Blitzcrank and Warwick in the same game. We're a little bit too lucky today. We've got a Ziggs as well in the mid lane. It's really fun to see the different styles from multiple regions clash here. LJL known for their unorthodox picks.
Well, if they weren't before, they sure as heck are now.
The GPL region, known for their aggressive plays, but so far, not much of that coming out of Mineski so far.
Actually, not even all that much coming out of the Gigabyte Marines. You'd have to say that was a lot more passive, a lot more calculated and smart. The Gigabyte Marines certainly played the cleanest game of League of Legends so far, but the LJL squads certainly look with a 5,000 gold lead at 16 minutes in that they want to challenge for that top spot in this tournament.
You can see them setting up now around the Dragon with a Blitzcrank trying to deny more vision, and this is just what we want to see, half of the course. Another Infernal, and I think Mineski have to try and fight this.
I mean, otherwise the game just gets out of hand. Then you're dealing against double Infernal Drake going up against a Syndra, up against a Varus. I mean, that's just going to be a very miserable late game for you. And the scary thing is this is with great vision control champions. Zyra can throw plants into brushes. Ashe has double Hawkshot that come out. I mean, this is probably, as far as face checking goes, the best comp. You've even got Jarvan standard if you get really desperate here. And they've caught out potentially Neo.
I mean, who's caught who?
Caught who? Yeah.
NT's looking for a pick himself. That's a flash being forced by the Jarvan. NT yet to throw out a hook.
And that was really interesting out of Neo, because they definitely could have killed NT there. They had the Syndra rotating down. They had Blitzcrank Hook. They had the ultimate that could come out of Neo. Instead, they just say, you know, it's a jungler. That's not what wins you a team fight. Now we're going to go for one here.
Yeah, Mineski looking to force a fire. Look at Neo dashing back in to tank that arrow for his team. He gets shoved back, taking a lot of damage, will flash out. The rest of the team has collapsed in, and look at him use his ultimate right there to lock down Hammers as he jumps straight into the back lines. Now Remind wants a kill for himself. Kaigo's going to be forced to flash away. The rest of Mineski are running and retreating back to their base, and Unsold stuff turn around that team
and
fight.
The part of the Warwick E that you don't really talk about is the fact that it gives you so much damage reduction. And you can see that they just put multiple spell rotations into him there with the shield coming out of the Shen. The heal, it was enough to keep him alive. They get the pick, they turn around, take another dragon, and Unsold stuff just looked fantastic.
Absolutely, and taking it back a little bit before that Warwick ulti, when we saw them sort of catch Neo and then Unsold stuff try to turn it around, and we were questioning, why did Blitz not hook there? It comes down to the fact that sometimes not hooking is the most threatening thing you can do as a Blitzcrank. Was it the most threatening thing you could do there? I'm not quite sure. There was definitely opportunities to hook priority targets. But that's the thought process that goes through at that time is if you hook someone, do they die? And if they don't die, it might not be worth it for him.
And just again,
See
everyone
now another pick.
On the same page, looking for that pick. Ignite's used, and that's simple. Cleanly executed by Unsold stuff.
I mean, this is what Blitzcrank comps do to you. When you don't have vision, you start panicking. Where are they on the map? Are they going to start invading my jungle? You can see that everyone has pink wards on the side of USG as well. They're looking to really put the screws in this mid-game. Double Infernal, 6,000 gold, and they're now rotating into the top lane.
Arrow used by Zen trying to stop Remind from collapsing. Does so successfully.
You're not in a good place when you have to arrow defensively and then run away as fast as you can. That's not a good sign for a team that should be looking to play proactively.
But again, it comes back to the discussion we had on the desk earlier today. How close are the 3 Japanese seeds? Because from what we can tell, the first seed against third seed is still a very close fight in a best-of-5 series, whereas Mineski, on the other hand, not as close as Ascension or the likes of Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a look at it as well, even Sin is going to not be as close to Legacy and Direwolves, and we've already seen that second place was very... here we go. Exo, you might be in trouble, my friend.
Neo looking for a pick, has to get rid of that Banshee's Veil. Does so, gets a Fear and back into the ultimate as well. Flash Taunt coming out from the Shen as well to keep this one nice and clean. Anti tanking up the turret, making sure the rest of the team can get back to safety for as long as he possibly can.
Look how tanky that lineup is. They just completely disregarded a tier 2 turret.
And again, the synergy
multiple members back there.
Synergy from Unsold stuff is fantastic. Rift Herald being used now, looking to try and push for this turret.
I can't believe that worked. I'm in absolute disbelief.
I mean, even was a cleanse available. Just did not care about anything that the Mineski mid laner had to offer.
Unsold stuff used that pick to take down bottom lane inner turret with Rift Herald.
This is a complete shellacking fish. This is an absolute massacre of a game of League of Legends so far.
And it's a 7,000 gold lead for Unsold stuff.
7,000 gold, 2 levels on their jungler, levels advantage everywhere else, as well as double Infernal Dragon.
One thing I want to say is watch how Mineski walk out of their base now after so much pressure from this Blitzcrank. They're going to be scared of every brush on the map because all they're going to be thinking is he here? Is he there? Yeah. What is going to happen?
I mean, NT is actually what goes bump in the night right now as far as Mineski is concerned. I mean, hide beneath your bed, find somewhere because honestly, this game becomes incredibly hard. You have a good Baron taker in Warwick, as well as a Blade of the Ruined King user in Varus. You got the likes of Shen that can tank it for days, and your vision control is just not good enough to access your topside jungle at this stage of the game.
You can run and you can hide. If you can escape Enti, you're not going to be able to get away from the thriller of Neo at the moment, because that Warwick is all over Summoner's Rift. And Unsold stuff are still looking to try and capitalize on the pressure they have at the moment, moving towards top side of the map. Still taking things relatively slow against Mineski.
Slowly. Hey, they've got double Infernal Drags and an 8,000 gold lead at 22 minutes. How quick do you want them to play the game?
Objectives only 6 minutes ago.
Objectives only spawn so fast, Fish.
I think they are playing slowly though now.
There we go.
Blitz has flash. Anytime Blitzcrank has flash and he's not flashing at someone, he should be flashing at someone.
I mean, I think they're just waiting for the next dragon to come up. They've controlled topside. If they have a phase check, they're going to be able to pick up a kill in the Baron. If not, then they just rotate vision back down bottom. They pick up another dragon for themselves, continue to put the screws in. Because you have to remember that you lose one team fight, you give over all those big shutdowns, and all of a sudden you're fighting a game on a little bit more equal footing than you want to be. Right now, they're certainly playing the calculated game.
Mineski, what do they really have to do to get back into this game? They've got tons of initiation, but it seems like there's no one they can initiate on from this team of Unsold Stuff Gaming.
I mean, take the game to 45 minutes when everyone has equal items. You still don't have the dragons, but you hope it's enough to get it done, because right now they are losing every single matchup.
Oof. Yeah, there's not really much they can do in terms of trying to pick someone. Like Fish just said, they're all just too tanky. The only one they could feasibly kill is probably Syndra, maybe Varus.
And they are rotating for the Syndra now.
Yeah,
Arrow comes out.
It's been thrown. It's not going to connect. Remind, flashing and healing immediately to avoid that.
He flashes back towards people a little bit too often for my liking.
That man.
He wants to remind them that he's still here, Spawn.
He needs to, he's just
That was
asserting
bad.
dominance. He's just showing them that you can't scare him away. It's just getting ready to fight.
And it's 9-4 in kills at the moment. Unsold Stuff still looking for these fights. Mineski, though, are looking to try and grip around this Baron pit because Unsold Stuff have started it. This could be a start of a big team fight.
The problem is as soon as you approach that, the hook comes out. As you can see, they have to be so careful. And Neo actually doesn't take all that much damage. Big taunt coming out, Fish.
Shen going to lock down Kaigu. Ultimate thrown up by Heredi to keep him locked down even further. Meanwhile, in the back in the fight, it will be Hummus that jumps in, but he takes a Syndra ultimate to the face and falls immediately. Kaigu, the tankiest member of their team, is already backing away from this fight. Exo as well.
Ooh,
Zen
good
looking to
flick.
try and jump in. Good flip coming out from the Talia, locking him down. Syndra stun narrowly misses the 80 carry from Mineski.
And all of a sudden, you maybe have to back away. That team fight was a little bit close for USG's liking. They do end up taking it 1-0, but you can see that everything was burnt on their side, and instead they were just hard reset the map for now.
That's about as well as that fight could have went for Mineski, and they still came out on the losing end. So I think you were absolutely spot on and said their only goal here is to drag the game out to 40+ minutes and wait for your opponent to run out of item slots.
And you can see that that's kind of their strategy, because they aren't really hard committing to these fights anymore. They're flirting people around the edges. They're looking for chip damage when they can through the Talia and through the longer range of the Ashe, but they're not really piling it on top of the Cataclysm as we saw when this game was at the beginning. So got to give credit for the adaptation that's come out of Mineski. Looks like they are trying to take it as late as possible. Lane's flipped on its head for now as they want to pick up another dragon, this time an Ocean Drake. Potentially a blue buff as well.
Yep.
Patience running thin, however, from blue.
They still get it. Heredi will pick that up for himself. Ocean Dragon is now live, and they look to try and take that for themselves. Zen is forced to go back to base, so no contest coming out from Mineski.
Yeah, and they can't contest it. They can't walk at it. They can't walk anywhere near it, because all that has to go through their heads is, instead of doing dragon, what if 3 of them are sitting in a brush?
Yep. And the big thing is it's an Ocean Dragon. And when the team has Blitzcrank Syndra, you're not really all that concerned about the gradual health and mana you're going to get across some nice macro transitions around the map. You're just trying not to get 100 to 0. You can see as soon as that's done, however, they move back in to regain control of the jungle. Members of Mineski head for the hills, Fish.
Unsold Stuff just look unstoppable at the moment. Mineski don't want anything to do with this pick
Another
they put
Ocean
together.
Drake coming up, so a little bit unlucky here out of Unsold Stuff Gaming. They could have got, you know, something like a Mountain, something like a third Infernal with how well they've controlled that objective.
But still, lots of pings going down towards the Baron pit, which is controlled quite heavily by Unsold Stuff. That should be the next objective on their minds. Bottom lane tanks are going to find. In fact, Shen actually getting the better deal of this wet noodle fight at the moment.
I mean, certainly is. There's absolutely nothing you can do at this stage of the game as Gragas. He's got more damage when you has more survivability. Good ward on topside of Baron. This, for some reason, people never sweep topside Baron, so we'll be able to spot them out.
Let's see if they can stop this. Baron already down to half health. Early teleport coming out from both top laners. Unsold Stuff peel off. They don't cancel, but cancel teleport coming out from the
that is so
Gragas.
bad. He has to start running there now. All of a sudden, Baron can start up again. Neo has pretty good sustain. Should be able to get a couple of Qs in here to be able to get some health back. And Gragas is just not that quick. He's a big fat man. He's not all that mobile.
Well, Mineski going to try and go for this. Wall has been built by Exo, cutting off 2 members, 2,000 health. Hummus tries to jump in, slides and dies, goes in, but still picked up by the Warwick, immediately locking down the Java, and he jumps over the pit, gets his ultimate off, and Shen is coming straight behind the monster himself. TG's trying to juke this one out. Good ultimate from Kaigu. Will knock back 2 members coming out from Unsold Stuff, but they get Baron. They've got a pick, and they're marching towards the base.
And all of a sudden, they might have still got another pick here. You can see he grabs 2 fleeing members, does get knocked back. So the fight will end there. However, the siege has only just begun. And all of, like, that experience deficit that we were talking about so early in the game has just come back so big for James because he was in the pit. He was alive when the Baron was killed, but 3 levels on the smite means he cannot get a look in.
NT looking for a pick, gets Kaigu, locks him down, just does a bit of damage. Kaigu tries to go back in.
Good flick.
We'll be able to knock Blitzcrank back. They pick up a kill for themselves, and now Shen trying to dash on in.
This
Ignite
is bad.
used onto the Gragas. Unsold Stuff desperately want to disengage. James is trying to join the fight as well. Exo throwing out rock after rock. Remindo snipes off one in the back lines. We'll get an ultimate coming out from Jarvan to lock him down. That will be a pick for themselves. Unsold Stuff, they've got no health bars. They don't care. They just keep moving forward. James is off somewhere fighting the wolf camp for some reason, but still, it's the Japanese team that comes out on top.
I mean, he also killed Remind, who kind of blew up their mid laner, Exo.
He's about to die. The Thriller comes through and picks up the ace, and that should be game.
I think that is game.
I mean, 13 seconds left on TG. As a support main, do you really fancy this fight, T-Gun?
I mean, you go out there and you give it your all. You get right on top of that ADC. You try everything you can to keep your team in this.
Unsold Stuff has abandoned this ploy to try and take down the Nexus. Already is there all by himself. Looking to try and pick this one up. TG wants to do something.
He's got flash and exhaust. Get over there, mate.
Oh, he's not doing it just yet. Zen is back up. Blitzcrank's going to try and join the fight as well. There goes Neo, locking them all down. Another kill onto the support. And Unsold Stuff take the LJL to 2 points in day 1.
I mean, what a terrific game coming out of Unsold Stuff Gaming. You have to look at that. They played pick-style League of Legends. They controlled the map. They controlled the tempo. And every fight they went for, apart from that first bottom lane dive, was completely on their terms.
Absolutely, and most of that was because of the Blitzcrank. They just went wherever he went, built off the hooks. Then once they got their laners ahead, they didn't rely on him so much. They let the other players of the team, the Jarvan to go deep, the Shen to go on top of him, let Remind do what the analyst said before and try and carry his team. So while Blitz was the early game, he definitely wasn't the late game that they relied on.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was how confident Remind was on that Syndra and the fact that Mineski, for some reason, Fish, were just happy to take a bad matchup into it and not pick the Echo. Maybe that's some good scouting because they banned the Fizz as well as the Kassadin, which both late game have quite a decent pick there. And they left Open Echo, who was kind of the no-brainer internationally, and it was ignored and not picked up.
And I know this was the matchup that you really wanted to look at today, Tiga. Mineski taking on Unsold Stuff. Has it answered your questions? Are the Japanese teams really that close and Mineski far behind the rest of the GPL squads?
It's hard to draw huge conclusions given it's only one game. It might just be that inconsistency we said from Mineski. But if I was going to draw a conclusion, I would say yes, it's Unsold Stuff just being a very strong team. It looked like they were in control for the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it shows also is that they adapt very well in game. There was one collapse that went against them and they said, we can read this play. It's not going to happen to us again. We're good enough to be able to respond. And that's exactly what they did. They also knew what part of their map was winning. I mean, we saw how much pressure was coming out of that mid lane early. Double summoner spells burnt out, then the ability to go for an early turret dive. Sure, they traded kills, but that sends a big message to Exo that he needs to up his game. Otherwise, mid laners at this tournament will be able to pick on him.
Not only did they trade kills, it was a solo kill for a jungler coming in and cleaning up because the jungler's in the right place at the right time. If Untold Stuff's jungler was somewhere else doing something, they might have been able to get advantage in 2 lanes at the same time. It just so happened he was also in mid trying to stop that counter gank.
And so now LJL have 2 points heading into Rift Rivals already, and the best part about that is we get to see them play 2 more times today. We have Rampage playing the Direwolves in the next match today, and Dead FM get to play their final game in the group stage of Rift Rivals. They could finish today 4-0 at their current rate.
I mean, I would not be surprised, honestly. They have played some really good League of Legends so far. It's been exciting. It's been good tempo games. Unless something goes catastrophically wrong here, if this is the strength that the LJL are bringing, I mean, they should be able to go toe-to-toe with the GPL in this tournament, which I don't think a lot of people expected. It comes down to, like, how does Rampage stack up against the Gigabyte Marines? Because, I mean, that Gigabyte Marines look like they're a clear outlier, but we haven't seen those first seeds from the LJL as well as Southeast Asia play yet.
I'd also say we have to wait for Ascension to play a game, because while LJL have looked impressive, coming into this Rift Rivals, everyone said Gigabyte Marines and Ascension were the #1 and #2 teams.
Yeah.
Not just the best 2-slot team, the #1 and #2 teams. So until we see them play, I think it's hard to say if LJ can really contest them yet or not.
Well, we still get to see a lot more games here today. Next up will be Direwolves taking on Rampage, but before we get into that game, we're going to take a quick break. That's a flash
Good
forward,
ball.
looking
Oh,
for a
no.
kill. The shove doesn't connect. One more auto. Remind picks up first blood, but they do have James up there as well to return the kill. Teleporter is coming in from Unsold Stuff Gaming, who are trying to fight with their backs against the wall. The rest of Mineski will join the fight. James doesn't have enough mana to go through. Double talk coming in for the Shen. TG's the first to fall. The mid laner for Unsold Stuff will fall next, and it's a 1-for-1 trade after all. And look at Neo dashing back in to tank that arrow for his team. He gets shoved back, taking a lot of damage, will flash out. The rest of the team has collapsed in, and look at him use his ultimate right there to lock down James as he jumps straight into the back lines. Now Remind wants a kill for himself. Kaigo's going to be forced to flash away. The rest of Mineski are running and retreating back to their base, and Unsold Stuff turn around that team fight. Meanwhile, in the back of the fight, it will be James that jumps in, but he takes a Syndra ultimate to the face and falls immediately. Kaigo, the tankiest member of their team, is already backing away from this fight. Exo as well as Zen looking to try and jump in. Good flip coming out from the Talia, locking him down. Syndra stun narrowly misses the 80 carry from Mineski. Oh, Mineski going to try and go for this. Wall has been built by Exo, cutting off 2 members, 2,000 health. James tries to jump in, slides and dies, goes in, but still picked up by the Warwick, immediately locking down the Java, and he jumps over the pit, gets his ultimate off, and Shen is coming straight behind the monster himself. TG's trying to juke this one out. Good ultimate from Kaiku will knock back 2 members coming out from Unsold Stuff, but they get Baron. They've got to pick and they're marching towards the base. And Remind though, snipes off one in the back lines. We'll get a ultimate coming out from Java to lock him down. That will be a pick for themselves. Unsold Stuff, they've got no health bars. They don't care. They just keep moving forward. James is off somewhere fighting the wolf camp for some reason, but still, it's the Japanese team that comes out on top.
I mean, he also killed Remind, who kind of blew up their mid laner, Exo.
He's about to die. The Thriller comes through and picks up the ace, and Zen is back up. Blitzcrank's going to try and join the fight as well. There goes Neo, locking them all down. Another kill onto the support, and Unsold Stuff take the LJL to 2 points in day 1.